We're on the Will and Willie Show live from the Orchard Hotel in San Francisco. Our main sponsor and presenting sponsor. I also want to mention our sponsors, Cage Chain Advisors, who are here in the room. Raise your hands, guys. Anybody wants to find out. Also, Tahoe Blue Vodka. Wonderful vodka.
I met that guy. That guy, can you imagine? Vodka, that's the blue water.
Yes.
From Lake Tahoe.
Uh-huh.
He's calling it vodka.
Oh, I see. Not made in Russia. We know that. And also, we have K&B beverages, R&B sellers, I mean. And it's Kevin and Barbara Brown who are in the room.
Lovely wine. Not
yes,
that I would know
fine
yet.
Wine.
I haven't
and
started
Corda
yet.
Restaurant. Let's hear it for the food that Corda Restaurant provides.
Oh, my God. There's a whole pig. Did you see that? There's a whole pig, for crumb's sake.
We
it's
have
a
that,
lechon.
too.
And you guys, none of you are Filipino, so you don't know how to. The skin is the best part. Okay, couple Filipinos. I'm sorry. All right, three.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, there's a hell of a lot of Filipinos in the audience.
Okay.
But eat the skin. Oh my living God! It's better than anything. I'm taking a plate home to my wife.
Yes, please. And speaking of women, since the last show we were
Captain
Segway for not having a woman on the show. I'd like to bring our special guest up to the stage, Carla Marinucci, everybody, senior California correspondent for Politico.com and a writer in San Francisco for quite some time.
Great to be here.
Moved over one.
I moved over.
Okay.
And let me tell you what she will do.
Uh-oh.
As a reporter in San Francisco, when I served as mayor, she was one of the reporters who constantly harassed me.
One of the enemy of the people.
Yes, yeah, okay. Constantly harassed me. I always had, in order to eliminate any question about whether or not there's access to the press, and all politicians should do this, you really ought to make yourself available at least once a week, the same day, same hour, every week, and it ought to be open season, and not your press secretary or not your press spokesperson, but you. And just let them ask you any question on any subject matter you may wish. And then occasionally they'll trap you, and that's what she did. She showed up at one of the things and asked a whole lot of questions, and then on the way out the door, we were walking outside together, and she asked me about some coach that had gotten choked by one of his players. And so I turned to her and I said, he may have needed choking.
Uh-oh. It was a 49er.
She put it in the paper. And, of course, I got in all kinds of trouble for that. So the next time I saw her, I said, she said, but you said that. I said, but you know I didn't mean it.
One of the many times Willie Brown didn't mean it.
Humor is sometimes misunderstood. What is your favorite gotcha of that period, Carla?
Oh, my gosh. This was the master of gotcha. I mean, we had to get, when we needed to get a comment from the mayor, we had to wait in front of his office sometimes for hours. He had a gatekeeper, Eleanor, who was very, very good at protecting him from us. And we had many times when I can't even remember them all. When he's the master, it's like being in the ring, a mixed martial arts thing with him.
Well, if you are an office holder, though, it's really important that you are in the news every day. And I don't know why all these other elected officials these days all try to avoid the news. What the hell are you talking about? You want to be in the news every day. And I said, well, you assess something that doesn't make any sense. I said, you think the public knows that?
Well, this is one of the things that, we went to there was a governor's debate this week, and we had...
10 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
On a holiday.
On the radio.
On the radio. Not only that, not just the radio, on KQED.
Just
That's
KQED?
not on anybody's.
Just KQED. Yeah, it was basically designed to minimize the audience, but you get to your point about access to the media. Gavin Newsom was there. John Cox was there. Gavin Newsom did come out and meet with us. There was a whole crowd of reporters there dying to drink in his every word afterward. But John Cox came out and didn't want to talk to us. And basically, I have never seen a body block group like that try to get past the media. It was almost like he got on a skateboard and just raced out of there trying to avoid questions. Now, why would a
The
politician...
candidate for governor didn't want to talk to the press after a debate?
Yeah, why would a candidate do that when they had a crowd of media? Don't you want all the free media that you can get when you're running for governor? Or?
Yes, you do. But if, like the Duracell, if it was gone, if all the cells were gone by then, you might not want to have exposure.
Either that or he drank a lot of water. He hydrated before the debate, and he had to find a restroom.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
That's what he was running
there's an
for.
excuse.
That's what he was running, yeah.
He didn't want to embarrass himself, period.
He didn't want to talk about his prostate problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm
But
not going there.
what's wrong in the world of politics? So, too many persons seeking and holding public office are totally and completely without the ability to candidly respond to any question put to them by anybody at any time. That's part of the role you ought to play, and you ought to be judged harshly if you do not have that skill set. It also means that you got to stay conversant with everything that's happening in the world, everywhere. You got to read, you got to listen, you got to write, you got to talk, and you got to be willing to listen, and you'd be surprised by how much more impressive you'll be if you're that open. If all you do as a politician is live on what they call those things, notes? What kind of...
Cliff notes?
No, not cliff notes. Bullet points or whatever.
Yeah.
Talking points.
What?
Talking points.
Yeah, talking points. If you, talking points, my bird at home is better handling talking points than most candidates for president. And believe me, I wouldn't want my bird as president, period.
Well, right now it might be a better alternative. But Carla, you started out, at least in my mind, you started out here at the Chronicle. You were the political reporter, California or national? What was your beat?
Yeah, I was the senior political writer at the Chronicle. Now I'm at Politico, which is a national...
Politico.
Right, a national...
Which has a physical newspaper in Washington, D.C., but mostly...
We're online and reach millions of people in several countries now. So.
How do you like the
Love it. I mean,
difference?
we're covering all the races here. We're expanding our news organization here. That's one of the few organizations that is. And I think that's a good thing. More enemies of the people, the better, I guess. and I think now more than ever, you need people watching what's going on in Washington and in Sacramento, for that matter. So I mean, we've seen candidates can't come through here. We used to get a lot more access to these candidates. This has changed over the years. Clinton would come in here. You remember this? He came to California 70 times as president,
yeah. and mostly for dinner.
and
at least two.
Yeah, and we got to cover him everywhere, at every little fundraiser. You were there at most of them, Mayor Brown. I mean,
he insisted that the press be present. Today, politicians really try to avoid the press.
But
they want. Let's say that all of you are here and you couldn't get out of here tonight after I finish pitching you without donating. Well, politician wouldn't want the press to know that that politician did that. Period. They want you to donate, but they didn't want the world to know that you gave them money. It's almost like being in a bar with a hooker. I mean, that's how awful we are in terms of how we do things with it.
You're going to print that one, Carla?
I want to say that, we've seen changes because I covered Donald Trump here when he first ran for president. A lot of you may not remember. He ran for president in 1999. He was a Reform Party candidate. He came to California.
Yes, he did.
He took a lot of us on the Trump One plane. I hung out with him in L.A. He had Melania along. She was the girlfriend at the time, not the
third wife. Yeah.
But this guy was fun to hang out with, I must say. He loved the media at that point. And
he still does.
And yes.
No matter what he says about it, he lives to be the lead. in every story. And when he isn't, he's very upset. If he is not the lead on every story in your paper,
Right.
your online, and believe me, I marvel at that outfit called, what do they call it, the Morning Joe?
Oh, Morning Joe, yeah.
Do you
It's one of
know
my
that
favorite shows.
Morning Joe, literally, when Trump was running against 13 other Republicans, Morning Joe played Trump every morning. They start going about 3 a.m. in the morning. And the first 30 minutes or more would be Trump, either in person or on the telephone with him.
Right.
They were buddies and they were friends and they were having a lot of fun. And it was always at somebody else's expense. Because if you remember, he devastated every other candidate. He started with putting Bush to sleep or making you believe Bush was asleep.
Low energy George.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
low
Totally,
energy
totally,
Jeb.
totally.
Yeah.
And Little Marco.
Little Marco.
And
Lion Ted.
And he's
Crooked Hillary.
yeah, crooked. No, but he went after all of the other his fellow Republicans, and that was lovely. The press loved it. He loved it, and they gave him full court press. Every morning he was at the top of everybody. And then when he got the presidency, he cut him off instantly. You can't come to lunch anymore. Joe, he started laughing about Joe and Joe's wife, and he started laughing about the program. He wouldn't call them and wouldn't talk to them, and they got very upset, and now they're enemies.
But he still loves the media. I mean,
He
still
loves the media, but
No.
he doesn't love them anymore.
No, I mean,
they were useful.
No, I have to say, in my case, at one point he invited me to go down and hang out with Leno and him in the green room down on the Tonight Show, which I did. After it was over, he sent me a letter that I have not gotten from any other politician. I have to say, it's on Trump stationery, and it says, thank you for the fair and balanced story. The last line of it is, and I plan to make the White House pay for this. You can interview me at any time, and he wrote in handwriting, even if you don't want to. So I have that letter signed by Donald J. Trump. I intend to make good on it someday.
Do you think that the media is complicit in him, in the fact that during the end of the campaign in 2016, he had like 18 different disqualifying moments that you could, the grabbing of the genitals, the not paying of the people, everything. It was just this huge preponderance. And Hillary, they focused on three things: the Benghazi, the emails, and the server. But the press would, especially CNN and MSNBC, would always have one person on each side argue, so it made them seem equal. The fact that he had 30 different things that were wrong with him, and she had 3, one which was total BS, the Benghazi thing. She had nothing to do with that. But the press made it seem like it was like this false equivalency.
I think it's changed a lot. I mean, just look at today. He wrote a op-ed for USA Today that's in the paper today.
Today?
Yes.
USA Today?
USA Today, about how the Democrats are going to eviscerate Medicare for seniors. They're going to do away with pre-existing conditions. The Washington Post has fact-checked that op-ed and said that in every sentence there is a falsehood or a lie, and they go down the list and basically dissemble the entire op-ed. That never would have happened. And I think in the campaign, it has come to the point where even when he's on TV, you'll see the chyrons that basically tell you what are the misstatements he's making. The media is much more willing to call him now. The New York Times has a counter. He's basically told 5,000 mistruths in his first 2 years. I think that's the kind of thing you just didn't see before. He was a reality show host who just, I think, wowed everybody as he came up. Nobody could believe this candidacy and the way it was run. And now he's the president of the United States.
But
and there's got to be
also,
different standards for the fact check.
CNN would do every rally that he had. Every rally. There was one point where there was an empty stage, and they were waiting for him to come on stage at a rally. Meanwhile, Bernie is giving a speech at the time, and they're paying no attention to Bernie, but waiting for Trump to come on stage. It just seems like Trump hypnotized everybody.
This week, they haven't broadcast. None of the cables have broadcast his
rallies.
Even Fox hasn't done it. So, I mean, that's a change.
That is a dramatic change, and it's fairly clear he is incapable of telling the truth completely.
No, the truth doesn't matter.
No, not at all. And believe me, somebody said, well, there ought to be a lie detector test. Would not matter. You pass a lie detector test if you believe what you are saying. And Trump is a master.
Well, I think the question, though, is going to be, who do the Democrats have to counter him? I mean, you can't beat somebody with nobody, and it is early.
I mean, in 1992, nobody wanted to run against Bush because he had just come off of Iraq, and he had a 78% approval. He had a higher approval rating than puppies. Shar-Pei puppies. The cutest kind. And nobody
That's 92.
And nobody wanted to run against him. And then that's when Clinton came from out of the ether, and he had to beat Songas.
just the name is Jack.
I know.
And if you remember, our candidate was going to be Cuomo, and he got on the tarmac, headed to New Hampshire, and quit.
Yeah.
Literally quit.
Really?
He pulled himself out of the race.
Yeah.
On the way to New Hampshire.
Absolutely, on the way to New Hampshire for the primary.
Well, we're seeing already. We've got Bernie Sanders coming here next week to California. A lot of people are looking at that and saying, "What is he trying to do? What is it? This is a big media market. He's coming to the Bay Area. He's going down south where these House races are." Some Democrats are going, no, please don't. It depends on, there's a split in the Democratic Party.
Bernie.
There's that.
Well, Bernie is not a Democrat. Let's start with that. And if people are going to be a part of the party and they're going to sell you on the basis that you are a party member, Bernie ought to come clean. He should announce right out of the box, oh, no, I am not a Democrat. I want you to be favorable for what I'm doing based on who I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Democrats are worried about. That
I think Democrats are worried about the septuagenarians that they got. They got Joe Biden. They got Dianne Feinstein. They got Hillary Clinton. They got Bernie Sanders. And, where are the kids? Where are the young people? That's why I think it's Kamala. I think it's Kamala or Corey.
Well, she's going to South Carolina this week. We've got that in the...
she was in Ohio last week.
Ohio.
She's going
to Iowa.
She's going to Florida. For the storm.
Yeah.
Now, today, she's going down
there. That was a smart move there.
Because of the storm.
And Trump's not happy that he got, that Hurricane Michael is superseding him. He's off the front page.
You notice Trump, though. Trump is pretty clever. He has not yet attacked Kamala Harris.
He hasn't. He has not gone after her.
No. He's attacked Dianne. He's attacked Newsom.
Yeah.
He got on Newsom's case.
That's right.
Anybody else?
Calls him crazy.
Nancy Pelosi, he started attack, but he has not said one word about Kamala Harris.
What does that mean? And is he going to make up a nickname for her, or is that a little too dangerous at this point?
Well, I think that he picks his enemies based on whether or not they look like cripples.
I can't.
Very politically correct.
I can't
Say it that way.
I can't. Wait a minute. He's gone after Gavin Newsom twice as being crazy.
Well, that's a cripple.
What?
He's after Dianne because he doesn't believe she's telling the truth about the.
Oh, and he really went after her last night. I mean, he basically
and today he's all over Dianne.
He needs enemies. He only works. He only looks good when there's. He can make someone look worse.
Yes.
So he doesn't look good on his own. I mean, the hair. Doesn't he realize that anybody over the age of 60 with long hair looks ridiculous?
Especially when it isn't his hair.
Yeah, what is it? A wig? A weave? Implants?
It's
extensions?
Will Durst is up for the role of Wild Bill Hitchcock in a movie.
It's clearly
No,
been
I'm preparing for an audition for the role of Buffalo Bill in a production of Annie Get Your Gun.
Oh, okay.
That's one of those. Yeah.
No, we're waiting. We're waiting to see how he goes after Kamala because she's one of a whole crowd of Californians that look like they may be running for president. By the way,
Well, it's interesting.
Eric
As soon-
Garcetti is it?
Wait, but just as soon as Newsom wins, and he will win, you will then have for sure, two national figures. Newsom will instantly be a national figure. In my opinion, he's been a national figure since 2004 when he did same-sex marriage.
Before
but he
anybody
will
else.
clearly be a national figure. Anybody who's governor of California is instantly a national figure.
Question.
Yes.
How does that work when you have two people from California looking for California donations to their campaign running for president?
Well, I believe Kamala is already gone nationwide for fundraising purposes. I think when she's in Ohio, when she's in Georgia for Stacey Adams' candidacy, when she's in Florida for Andrew Gillum's candidacy, she is dropping the lines and loading the water. So when she comes back, she'll be able to turn the spigot on, and out will come resources for her.
That's right.
Newsom is going to have to cultivate that opportunity. Garcetti is going to have to do something to elevate himself. You don't become a national figure just by being the mayor of Los Angeles. You can in San Francisco. You can be the mayor of San Francisco and become a national figure almost overnight. But Los Angeles,
You being the example.
Said the king of the drive-by guest appearance on cable.
That's right.
well, you forget. You forget. Before I became the mayor of this town, I had done 60 Minutes twice, and I'd been the only subject matter over a 10-year period that didn't get indicted after the 60-minute.
And they tried, believe
Oh
me.
yeah, oh
Oh,
yeah.
they try. Oh, they try. Okay, two of the greatest political minds of the state of California right here. November 6th. What happens on November 7th? Is there a blue wave, a blue tsunami? Is Trump right? There's going to be a red wave? What's going to happen? Your thoughts?
It looks like the polls are showing, at least today, that Democrats are more energized than Republicans
But I
are.
thought that the gap had been bridged during the Kavanaugh
we
hearings.
came out with a poll today that showed Democrats have about a 10-point advantage in
Taken
Congress.
when?
And taken over the last week.
Okay.
So there's a brand new poll, a Political Morning Consult poll that came out today. And
But the Rasmussen poll,
well, that's a Republican-leaning poll.
I know.
But this poll showed, Democrats have, it looks like that energy going. And the fact is, you're going toward the election. Can Republicans sustain that kind of, the happiness they have over the Kavanaugh? I think the anger driving Democrats is going to maybe last. It's going to last a little longer.
Let's start with no one on the Republican side have to lift a finger to get 35% of the votes cast in this state and most of the congressional districts in this state. Then if you can just do a little bit more to that 35%, you might be able to make it work and you might be able to win. I believe that Democrats have been so recently committed to data mining. They're constantly looking at the polls. They're constantly looking at all the traditional indicators. And clearly, they're missing the process. Hillary lost because she spent time data mining and not enough time trying to get a vote. I say to every candidate who talks to me, how can I win it? You can only win it by making sure that every voter in the district shakes your hand, period. You say hello. Most people don't get a chance to talk directly to any candidate. They may curse you out or what have you. I lost the first time in 1962 running for the state assembly. I lost by 1,000 votes to a 22-year incumbent. I lost on a Tuesday night. By Thursday of that same week, I was already back knocking on doors. I really wanted to be an elected official. And I was back in the streets, knocking on doors, thanking people for having voted for me. Now, I had no idea who voted for me, who didn't. But, you know, if somebody thanks you for something, you're really flabbergasted, particularly if you didn't do it.
Covering all his bases.
I lost by 1,000 votes the first time. I won by 4,000 votes 2 years later because I had done the job of making people meet me. And I believe to the extent that candidates do that, you're going to win the election. It's not direct mail. It's not all of the other stuff that people are doing traditionally. I believe it's still the quality of the candidate determines ultimately whether or not you win. Lazy candidates don't make it. Candidates relying only on money don't make it. They just can't. It doesn't work that way. Period. And so I believe exposure to the voters is the most important part.
I think there's a House race in California that illustrates exactly what you're talking about, Mayor, and that is the one against Devin Nunes down in the Central Valley.
Right.
You know, all the polls show Devin Nunes is about 12 points ahead of Andrew Jans, who's a Fresno prosecutor. The Democratic Party doesn't want to give Andrew Jans any money, but the fact is this guy has gone to every Rotary Club, every door. He has just killed it in terms of going to that district and talking to every voter. Devin Nunes has been, you know, talking about Russia, has not done any town hall meetings, none of that stuff. So this is where we're going to see whether that plays out or not. That, you know, are you going to be able to turn people out just by knocking on their door?
Any other?
And you also really have to kind of listen to them when you see them. You know, like for an example, I rang one doorbell and this lady said, "Who's there?" I could hear all the things, you know, lock up. She's frightened out of her wits. I said, it's Willie Brown, and I'm trying to talk to you about the possibility of voting for me. She says, Willie Brown? I said, yeah. She says, yeah, I kind of like you. I read a lot about you. I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote for you and Mr. Goldwater. Well, now, you know, what am I going to do? I felt sorry for Lyndon because I didn't make a pitch for him at all.
We're here on the Will and Willie Show live from the Orchard Hotel in San Francisco.